Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and today we're looking at what I think are the two overall best Seiko divers that you can buy right now, and that's the awesome new 2024 SPB453 62 mass and the SPB383 Marinemaster 200 GMT, a watch that I said could be my one and only Seiko. So in this video, I'm going to compare these two watches by getting into the details about their on-the-wrist experience, their cases, dials, bezels, functions, all that good stuff. And as promised, I'm also going to be announcing my 20K subscriber watch giveaway in this video. So stay tuned for details on how to enter. But anyways, let's just get into it. So first up, as always, the dimensions, especially since Seiko dimensions on paper hardly ever represent real life. So first up, the SPB453. The most important numbers here are the 40.1 millimeter case with a 39.1 millimeter bezel width and a case thickness of 13.2 millimeters. And for the Marinemaster 200 GMT, we have a case width of 42.1 millimeters, a bezel width of 41.8 millimeters, and finally a thickness of 13.4 millimeters. Oh, and of course, both watches have 20 millimeter lugs, which make both watches strap monsters, and both come with bracelets that taper down to 18 millimeters. All that said, I would say that the 453 wears more like a 39 millimeter watch on wrist, kind of like a Black Bay 58, mainly because of the bezel width, and the same thing goes for the Marinemaster 200 GMT because of its bezel and its polished bevel. It wears more like a big 40 or a 41 millimeter watch. So yeah, on the wrist, both watches wear extremely well and very comfortably, although the 453 on the bracelet is lighter than the Marinemaster 200 GMT on the bracelet, 157 grams versus 172 grams. So on the bracelet, I definitely prefer the 453, but pretty much since day one, I've worn the Marinemaster 200 GMT on this strap habit, FKM rubber strap, mainly because for me, the Marinemaster case means rubber strap. But as it turns out, it's also an unbelievably comfortable combination. So yeah, it's a win-win for me. Overall, both watches have different aesthetics and are Seiko in very different ways. The 453 is far more simple looking overall, and then there's more going on with the Marinemaster 200 GMT in almost every single way, but it is done right. More details on the looks in the next sections. And now the cases, which is definitely the biggest differences between these two watches, and the designs of each case will most likely be the deciding factor for a lot of folks. The SPB453 has an overall more simple design, but that doesn't mean that it's uninteresting or that it doesn't have its own Seiko flair. It's got a nice bevel running along the top, and the underside of the case tapers inwards in classic Seiko fashion, and this looks good, it helps reduce the visual thickness, and it also feels more comfy on the wrist, so win-win-win. Also, this more simple case does help the watch be more versatile. I think that it can be worn in more situations than the Marinemaster 200 GMT can be worn in, although the Marinemaster 200 GMT is also, all things considered, a versatile watch. So yeah, I mean, in the end, I just enjoy seeing the 453 when it's on my wrist, which is important because, I mean, you gotta like the watch that you're looking at on your wrist. I mean, otherwise, what's the point of the watch? And now for the Marinemaster 200 GMT case. And I've said this many times before, but this case design is my favorite case design, period. I mean, it's pure Seiko first off. And when you look at the case with nothing else, you'll still know that it's a Seiko case, and I think that's a very awesome thing. But I also love when you're looking at it on the wrist from the top. It's not a wild shape like the Captain Willard, but when you start looking at it from the different angles, you see the way the bevels and the brush line flows and curves around the case, and the way the tapers out and then back in. Every single angle that I look at this watch, I mean, it's just incredible. I can't get enough of it. So the bracelets we can get through pretty quickly because they're the exact same updated 3-link bracelet. This particular bracelet is a huge improvement over the version that was on the SPB143 and still is on the Captain Willard as far as I know. I went into a lot of detail about this new bracelet in my dedicated SPB453 review, but in short, the short and thinner links just made all the difference, and now it really feels great on the wrist. I really like it. Oh, and also in the pinned comment, I'll link the aftermarket clasp that I use on all my Seiko bracelets that taper down to 18 millimeters. There you go. And now on to the dials and bezels, and while they're similar, they've got their differences. In terms of dials, both have undeniable Seiko DNA, starting with the split 12 and of course the very Seiko hour and minute hands, which are half polished and half brushed. These are easily amongst my favorite handsets of all time. I mean, elegant yet strong and also uniquely finished. But the hands on the Marinemaster 200 GMT are actually a bit beefier in comparison, and the minute hand has a slight taper up to the tip, which is nicely suited to the tapered indices at the 12, 3, 6, and 9, which is just a nice little bit of attention to detail, a little bit of a design cohesion, if you will. The indices on the SPB453 are all rectangles, although all the non-cardinal indices, so not 12, 3, 6, and 9, are slightly tapered inwards just to change things up, I suppose, compared to the SLA 62 mass versions. And that brings me to the lume, and both have good lume. It's Seiko Looming Bright after all, but the 453 has brighter lume because the indices are just a bit bigger, so they naturally hold more lume. And time to talk about the date windows, and people will instantly hate the 430 date window, but I think that a well-executed 430 date window is the best way to go because we get a full set of loomed indices, and we also get a date that fades away. That said, the 453 date window is a bit better than the Marinemaster 200 GMT since the numbers are level, which isn't seen very often, but that said, I still do really like the Marinemaster 200 GMT window. Oh, and of course the Marinemaster 200 GMT has a fourth GMT hand that the 453 doesn't have, and it's got a little 24-hour track on the edge. They're there when you need it, but they fade away when you don't want them there. So that's, well done for a watch that's very much a diver first watch. And onto the bezels, and both are paired perfectly for the type of watch that they are. The 453 is a classic monochrome diver, so we have a fully graduated matte black steel bezel with a coinage bezel grip, all fitting for a modern take on a vintage diver. And while the Marinemaster 200 GMT bezel is more modern with its plush ceramic insert and a little bit more chunky bezel grip, so well done. Okay, so before we get into the functions, it's giveaway time, and it's gonna be the new Titanium Citizen Forza / Zenshin, whatever it's called in whatever countries, but it's the Salmon Dial Eco Drive version. So what you need to do to enter the giveaway is subscribe and like the video, and comment down below which Seiko between the SPB453 and the Marinemaster 200 GMT you would choose and which strap you would pair with it, or if you just keep it on the bracelet. And then I'll announce the winner in my next video, and then also I'll comment on the winning comment with instructions on how to claim the watch. So yeah, here we go. I'm excited. And now onwards to the functions, and although both watches are primarily dive watches, considering that both have dive bezels, the SPB383 Marinemaster 200 GMT is, as the name would suggest, a GMT. The SPB453 is not a GMT, it's a pure dive watch, and these aspects can be a good or bad thing depending on what your preferences are. I love the 453 because of its simplicity and its purity. It's just a black and white diver, nothing more to it. And I honestly don't think that I would want anything else in it. And that's despite me being a huge fan of GMTs, and obviously that is a very big reason why I love the Marinemaster 200 GMT so much. With the Marinemaster, I get a full dive watch experience, black dial, white lume on hands and indices, black dive bezel with white writing. But I also get a little GMT hand thrown in there for additional functionality. But for me, mainly I just like the look of a fourth GMT hand. It just adds a little bit of that X factor, that extra bit of visual interest that I just love looking at on any watch with a GMT for that matter. So if you want a GMT, then the choice is clear. But even if you don't want a GMT, I don't think that the GMT function of the Marinemaster 200 GMT is obtrusive at all, because the bezel is a dive bezel and the 24-hour track is tucked away on the edge, and the GMT itself, the GMT hand itself, isn't very bold. So I'm not answering the traditional which is best question, because given the similarities and the differences, which is best comes down to which one you prefer and nothing more, because the fact of the matter is that both watches are fantastic, but they do look, all things considered, pretty different. That said, if I really had to choose between these two watches and I can only keep one, first off, it would make me really sad, because I think that these two watches would make for a really awesome Seiko diver duo. But I do think that I would end up with the Marinemaster 200 GMT. As much as I love the SPB453, if I'm keeping one Seiko, I would want it to be full on Seiko, and Seiko the way I see Seiko. And that is what the Marinemaster 200 GMT is to me. It's got that beautiful, pure Seiko case. The hands are pure Seiko. The dial is pure Seiko. The Marinemaster in general is just pure Seiko, and I love it so much because of that. I mean, as iconic as the 62 mass is, in the end, it is effectively just Seiko's take on the skin diver, which was popular at that time. So maybe not as pure. Hot take, I suppose. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments, and until the next video, good day.